Everybody, this is 1,123 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Okay, we have some breaking news again. Every day is breaking news. Every day. Every day. Do I want every day to be breaking news? No. It's today. It involves the Customs and Border Protectors. Um, and I'll see if I'm on Facebook. See if I'm on. I am. Thank you. Okay. Everything seems to be working. I can answer any questions now. Um, so tonight I want to let everyone know that we have been threatened. Okay. We have um, been intimidated since really the beginning, over and over and over again. We have been targeted as, you know, for asymmetric warfare tactics. We have been targeted, and I mean Team Find Richard Halliday, for military operations. We have been um, absolutely threatened, absolutely bullied, absolutely harassed. And so I have to give that disclaimer. Okay, I have to give that information out because of what I'm about to say. We we've had people that have had information. We have known that there were leaks, that people were privy to our personal records, my husband's records, everything about Richard, his adoption records. We um, we have known that there were lots of activity going on behind the scenes, and information withheld from us. We received that information and we turned that in. We also know that there was a coordinated effort to smear Richard because he was a whistleblower for weapons trafficking, um, or smuggling, narcotics trafficking, and human trafficking. Uh, Absolutely, in a very big way, which involved um, those that are even connected to Park University. Um, this is the allegations, the intel coming to us, and it is not um, unfounded because we have the chief of security of Fort Bliss, Thomas Kane, telling us, telling a key witness that the command on Fort Bliss is operating outside of the law, which puts us in even more danger, which threatens our life, so much so that we've had to take numerous steps to protect ourselves. And we have let them know how serious the threats were. Um, but because they are working out, the command is working outside of the law. So if the command on Fort Bliss is operating outside of the law, then that means all the agencies that are connected with Fort Bliss are operating outside of the law. Okay? Because they're not being briefed on reality. That explains even Anthony Swafford in the military police on Fort Bliss, but it also explains what's going on with the DA, what's going on with the AG, what's going on with the AUSAs, what's going on with other cases that we now have believe we have information, and we've requested some clarity from Amy Snoddy, who you know is in charge of the monies that Governor Abbott um, allocates for certain cases, prosecution of certain cases. And we would like to know some of those numbers because we're the ones that pay it, right? Um, and this includes payment to attorneys. And if you are going to collaborate in this extensive way on Richard's case so that you can lockstep the VA, the MPs, the CID, um, the Chief of Security of Fort Bliss, the Command, the JAG, um, Park University, and I know CPS, CYS, and I know I'm forgetting some, the sheriffs, the U.S. Marshals, the ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, the Mexican government, the Mexican military, Homeland Security, uh, and I'm still um, the Texas Rangers. Do you understand? This would require quite a bit of money, a lot of collaboration. The mortuary affairs, the mortuary um, there in Mexico, the mortuary in El Paso. Um, Dr. Marian Raskin Ortiz could answer these questions. We have, asked these questions. Um, the silence speaks volumes. The silence of the media is involved. That speaks volumes. Where the media was not silent was to discredit a key witness in our case, not only to discredit him, but to try to destroy his life, and also to build a case uh, to ban him from access to Fort Bliss and being an officer of the court. That has great, let's just say that obstructs justice in our son's case. And, but that was done because the evidence was not there. Uh, there was no investigation packet. There was no investigation. There was no investigation packet. It was all done on collaboration between agencies and authorities and people. And, the lack of the commanding general, Major General Eisenhower, to address this issue fairly, to care about Richard. If he was not afraid of the ramifications of exposing the cover up of Richard, the code red of Richard, the which is a premeditated murder that was this is what I believe, okay? It was a deliberate, premeditated murder that was okayed by the generals, the authorities to get rid of Richard. Um, and you think, how can that be? He's just a young kid. He's just a young man. How can that be? Well, the world is ran on those few that stand firmly on their faith, that stand firmly for justice, that stand firmly for morals. And that's how those are the real movers and shakers. And yes, they get retaliated against, they even get murdered. They are the biggest enemies of our criminal syndicate um, agencies that are firmly established in their criminal activities. And, I'm not saying this is not a blanket, but this is, it's the percentage is so big at the higher levels that clearly by their fruit you will know them. Clearly, we have a drug problem. Clearly, we have a border problem. Clearly, we have a sex cult problem. Clearly, we have a satanic cult problem. Clearly, we have a child sex trafficking problem. Clearly, we have a human trafficking problem. Clearly, we have a rising criminal problem. Clearly, we have um, an elite class that gets away with just about everything. Clearly, we have been lied to about so many things. Clearly, our science, that they call science, is not science. Clearly, you will know them by their fruit. And today I want to talk about the justice because clearly this is obstruction of justice and delay. When they did not contact us, when they, uh, uh, just absolutely um, hindered every move that we tried to make and redirected us to fit a certain narrative, and they were in the background tampering with Richard's remains, I believe, to try to make him look like a suicide, but that didn't happen because of this dismemberment and the different locations. They could not pull that together. Clearly, they in the background were tampering with the file, with surveillance footage. And in order to do that, they had to um, clearly, through the media, clearly withhold Richard's whistleblowing status, clearly make him seem like he was a criminal to our law enforcement agencies to get them, um, uh, because we have such a criminal problem. Even our criminal agencies readily will swallow these smear campaigns and let the, they won't do their duty. They won't do their duty. And, that's why we put in a criminal complaint against Anthony Swafford, because no matter what he was told, his duty was to find a fellow soldier. And that is not what was happening. And clearly, in the legal sphere of things, they were working behind the scenes. And I have some names, And and I'm just going to put them out there because clearly they have millions of dollars allocated for this, and that means following these live streams, following our research, and that puts us in danger. And so, Team Find Richard Halliday uncovering this kind of information, it needs to be told right away, right away. And the risks that come from that is far less than the threats to our life, the threats, the bullying, the harassment, all of that. Um, so I'm just going to put it out there what we are finding, what we are discovering, and this with Lisa Lennon Williams from the VA, we still have not received a phone call. There is no urgency, and if it turns out that she's James Hart's boss and lover, and she is a point of contact for the CID that Richard was interning for, that Richard was whistleblowing against, because we clearly know that they were up to no good, because Tavita Nusa, Special Agent Tavita Nusa, lost his badge. And we have put in a criminal complaint against Marlon Soto for his actions, criminal actions in this case. And that, this is reality. We know that the CID um, have tampered with Richard's file, have withheld information from us, has tried to mislead us into a false narrative. And so we know this to be the truth. After 3 years, after 1,123 days, we know that to be the truth. And so they're up to no good in the CID, and that if Lisa Lennon Williams was the point of contact for Richard's case, this is the intel that we're getting, while having an affair with James Hart, the husband of a key suspect, that our witness, one of our key witnesses, um, uh, put in a CID and FBI and command, everything. He put in everything. He's an officer of the court, so of course he's going to cover himself, saying that they were bragging, um, and we have documents, that they were tampering with Richard's file. They were manipulating and deleting surveillance footage, and um, they even admitted to bodily harm of our son. And if the CID, and we know, it's not if, we know this because of Special Agent Howell on record stating that Richard's file was scrubbed of all information from our key witness about that information. And also that Richard's retaliation had been scrubbed, his file sanitized, and he had been promoted twice. Okay, so here they are at the beginning telling us that Richard is like an El Capone. I'm not going to repeat what they told us. And then they're telling us that he's just so depressed, and, they had to drag him out of bed and whatever, and that he was suicidal and that. But he was an El Capone, okay? You're right. Um, that it was just so insane, and nothing made sense. And yet now uh, we have his file, and they sanitized it from all retaliation. Um, and promoted him twice. You don't promote someone twice with a permanent GOMAR. That's being chaptered. That has a field grade Article 15, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's gone. And then he's promoted twice in December of 2022 and in April this year of 2023. Um, which demonstrates that he had college credits uh, because of the 4 months. The 4 months in between, you have to have some college credits, otherwise it takes you a little longer. And um, the people can give me their reasoning, but my point is, why doesn't our liaison, why doesn't our casualty affairs officer, why doesn't the PAO give us official documents explaining their decisions, and also the many changes in Richard's designation. And uh, you know this is all legal, to obstruct, to delay. And so today, if we don't have enough um, evidence from RDS, Thomas Kane, with that letter, if that's not enough, if it's not enough from Leilani Hart with her notarized criminal complaint of James Hart in all kinds of felony crimes, including incest, and Dallas in engaging in incest while in uniform, and the sexual assault of a 7-year-old, and purchasing weapons illegally, uh, and having them in his possession, and then threatening her with, to murder her if she reported his pedophilia dreams and whatever, and being in possession of child pornography. And then he has a very, very important job with the VA, um, having access to very sensitive files of our service members, our veterans, to be on the health board to determine uh, if they should get disability payments, benefits or not, and how much they should get. Wow, that is a very important position if you want to blackmail people, if you want to manipulate people to do what you want, especially in this kind of environment with the inflation going up, and all of the economic challenges that people have, especially veterans. um, you can manipulate a lot of people that way. And then this is not me. This is Leilani Hart saying he is engaged. This is how I got the name, because in the paperwork, um, she is saying that he is in this affair with Lisa, and paying for, things for her, and for her family members. And I would think that Lisa would want to, um, you know, go to Miss Kacherga and say, Miss Kacherga, Leilani Hart is not credible, and I need to make a public statement. Because she is trying to manipulate Richard Halliday's case, because she has been implicated by an officer of the court, um, telling everyone what they're doing behind the scenes with the tampering and everything. If I was Lisa, I would do that, but that has not happened. And they have, you know, we don't have uh, millions of dollars coming from Governor Abbott to find our son. The DA has, well, the the first DA was looking into our son's case, but then that was unseated, and you have this DA not even responding with I received your your request or whatever. And what about the AG, right? That used to be the DA, right? This is, and these judges, and this whole legal system, they have their own little community, um, and friendships, and brotherhood within them, that the regular person like me, like Team Find Richard Halliday, we don't know that. We don't know that they're not interested in justice. They're interested in manipulation. They're interested. I think that's the best thing to say is manipulation, to cover up the many, many crimes they're engaged in. In whatever funding that they get. All this about this political funding and everything, and you see that with Veronica Escobar, because she could be, the hero in this case, but something is not right there. She's up to no good, and I bet you it has to do with wherever she gets her funding. And so there might be some with loyalty. There is this cultish um, connection with our son's case, right? There is this sex cultish connection with our son's case, this pedophilia connection, this child sex trafficking. And we know that Richard was reporting on children. We know that. I know from information that has come in from the vile and vulgar people that were harassing us, that let information um, be revealed in their harassments. I hope that makes sense. But so that's why, a lot of people would say, you need to delete them, you need to block them, you need to do that. And so, I tried to put up with it for as long as I could, as long as it was producing information. And I would just glean from their vileness and their vulgar, sometimes something, you know, it's they mean it for evil, but God means it for good. You can find out a lot by talking to or letting these people just talk, right? Um, and so we know that Richard was reporting, was a whistleblower, and made people in high places very uncomfortable. And that's why that you hear the rumors that this was a code red, meaning that this was a premeditated, approved murder of Richard to get rid of him, because they felt like, and this is just my opinion right now, uh, because when you have a code red, I've been looking that up, what that means. They felt like, if he gets out, he still will report or whatever. He knew too much. He knew too much. He saw too much. He recorded too much. He collected. And, Richard wanted to be in law enforcement. So, I don't know what all he collected. We know that he had sex tapes that he turned in. And we know that we have the names of people in CPS that are part of this. They are um, implicated in this by conflicts of interest, just like Lisa um, seems to be seems to be has a conflicts of interest with James Hart, with Leilani Hart, then with Dallas Hart, with this case. And that's the VA that has very sensitive information. And then, of course, the Child Protective Services also has access to very sensitive information about families, right? And have the ability to take away children, right? They have the ability to do that. And so uh, we have connections with that. Ann Ogle has, she's in charge of the mental health of children all through Fort Bliss, including when it was there, and who knows what's happening there now, the emergency intake center, and all of these daycares and everything that had to spring up, in-house daycares and stuff, because the emergency intake center drained El Paso and Fort Bliss of child care workers, which uh, uh, and we have in newspaper uh, reporters have reported that there was not proper vetting going on, and that children were in danger. And we see that with the carelessness of Leilani Hart with her friends' children, that she knew, because we have police record after police record after police record, okay, of problems going way back to the 1990s. And so she knows, but of course, he's saying, I could put, a gun to your head and get you in the middle of the night. It's as simple as that, and you'll never wake up if you say anything. And even according to Leilani Hart's notarized CID accepted, FBI accepted criminal complaint confession, that she said in this that James Hart even threatened the 7-year-old with bodily injury if he said anything um, about this sexual assault in Leilani Hart's master bedroom. And so, those aren't my words. That's her words. Her words. Okay? And this file, this CID FBI file, was part of Richard's file. Okay, that's part of Richard's case. That's why this is important and relevant to Richard's case. And if the VA is giving the CID information about Richard's mental and physical health, and they're manipulating it, and they're trying to manipulate maybe even the files, and maybe they're committing forgery, because we have information, not from me, that there was forgery going on. And we have um, information that makes that very suspect in reality, because we know that Richard's social security number has been breached and used, okay, and not by him. And we know that this goes on quite a bit in the real world, that people are using social security numbers of other people. And so we've turned in a complaint, because it seems that even Leilani Hart was using social security numbers of other people. And that's why she said, and I don't know, but I think that this is why she said that he threatened my immigration status, because something is not right going on there. Um, and so all of this happening, we know that it could not happen. It could not go on this long if the generals didn't code red it, right? If they weren't behind it. You know, they are absolutely aware of this case. This could not go on without them being totally aware of this case and participating in the obstruction of justice and the delay. Okay? Because they have the money, they have the resources, they have the staffs, they have the power of the order. I can give an order and heels get clicked together and it gets obeyed much quicker than in the civilian world. So, but also, none of this could be happening without the support of the Department of Justice. Okay? The Department of Justice would have to, and we put in a request to make sure that the people involved in this, including the FBI, uh, had oversight and that they were doing their duty. We put in a request to the Department of Justice. It was turned down. This is very early on when we were still in El Paso. We put this in, it was turned down, and we had people laughing at us in their vile and vulgar messages to us that we were turned down. And we didn't even publicize that we had made this request. So they had access to our request to the Department of Justice, you see, because we didn't tell people that we were making that my husband was making that request. And yet they were laughing and they knew even before we checked that we were denied. And so they were on top of this case. That is the point that I'm trying to make. There is a legal staff that is on top of this case. And if that's not enough, okay, so we have the law enforcement, we have the JAG, we have the CPS, we got Park University that still hasn't responded to us. Because anything that made Richard look good, like he was, his aspirations were for law enforcement and getting an education in law enforcement and then interning with the CID, knowing Marlon Soto, knowing Tavita Nusa, knowing, of course, Thomas Kane in the criminology class, knowing Ann Ogle, knowing this group. It makes so much sense now. And Richard being aghast, I don't know any other way to put it, by the criminal, vile, vulgarness of their activities, um, their illegal activities, just their manipulation of everything. Um, and this is my opinion from everything that we've collected and the lack of responses that we have gotten. And there's so much more that makes me give a live stream like this. Okay. And if that's not enough, we know that we have now, and I mentioned him yesterday, a lawyer, an attorney, um, that is involved in Richard's case. Okay, he's involved in Richard's case, and he's from the Customs and Border Protectors. Okay, he's involved personal, personally with Leilani Hart and James Hart. Okay, um, personally. This is my opinion. This is from intel coming in and double checking, triple checking, checking. Uh, and so if this is wrong information, then Christopher needs to straighten it out online. He needs to straighten it out in documents. He needs to straighten this out, because Christopher Michael Meisner, that works for, and you can go to LinkedIn, works for Customs Border Protectors. Um, and it gets even better. It gets even better because why? And should I mention this? And I have to mention it. I have to mention this for my own safety. Okay? The lawyer. Why is the prosecutor for the Walmart case involved in this case? Felix Valenzuela. Why is that? Why is that? And the millions of dollars that were afforded to him for a case that was open and shut. Okay? When you think of the Walmart case, open and shut case, but yet it had to go on and on and on, and it was given millions of dollars. And we have asked Miss Amy Snoddy for that information. What did Governor Abbott give towards it? And why is he involved in our son's case? Okay. The connections would explain so much. So we have Christopher, make sure I get his name right, Meisner, and Felix Valenzuela, and of course, Judge Robert Shook. You know, what would they be doing? Why is it important? Why is this like makes me want to throw up? I mean, that's how nauseated this whole thing, because they are using our taxpayers' money to defend child sex trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and weapons smuggling. To smear a whistleblower, a young soldier trying to do the right thing, right? Trying. There's not one that of us that, at 18, 19, 20. But let me tell you, Richard did just a unbelievable job. He deserves so many kudos, y'all, for being that young and having to go through that much retaliation and standing up to them so strongly that they felt like, in my opinion, they had to do a code red on him, a premeditated murder that was pretty despicable with the dismemberment and the other locations, because don't forget, Vanessa Guillen's remains were found, and they tried the foxhole with the lime, with the concrete, with the dirt to so the animals wouldn't smell her remains. But this is what happened. They tried to even burn her. Let's burn her. Let's who knows what they did to Richard. Okay, once we get those autopsies, we'll know fully what they did. We know the dismemberment is there, and because of the lack of response, official response to a missing soldier and to the family, that they were so negligent to that they didn't even call us. And that, the media is, I will never get over Miss Kacherga. Like, is he helping you? It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. What's so bad about that? No one's allowed to help? Why aren't you helping? You have tax, El Paso Matters, they have a tax-free status. You should be helping too. And now I'm giving you another name. You have a fair, this is like this huge drama. And, we have video of Nadal Baim, a Palestinian, being the hero in all of this because he's telling the truth. He cannot suppress it, you see. He cannot suppress the truth that they found Richard's remains in Mexico, and they being the FBI, and we calling the State Department, and they confirmed to us that the FBI was looking for Richard's remains in Mexico. And then we have Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne's statement that I shared yesterday, confirming that they were working together with the State Department looking for Richard's remains in Mexico, and that they were also looking for remains there on Fort Bliss in December, corroborating what we have been telling everybody, what has been happening. And we want the checks, that we want people to correct us, right? We want it. That's why we are on live every day, that people can give us information and correct us. And that's why we've come so far. But see, where is the commanding generals in all of this? Where are their PAOs? Where is the JAG? Where is the representatives and the senators in all of this? Where is the MPs? Where is the AG? Where is the DA? Their silence is deafening. Where is the governor of Texas in all of this? You think that Joe Biden's response to, and it is bad. It is so bad. He needs to be out of that office, okay? His response to the burnt up bodies on Maui, you think that's bad? Well, we have a Governor Abbott that doesn't even respond to this. He doesn't even respond. Not even with a letter of, I'm so sorry, and, we're doing all that we can. Or we don't have the authority to do anything. But he does, because he can give money, you see. And he gave a lot of money. He gave a lot of money. And did he disguise it with another case? Because our information and the connections, you see, the connection going to Valenzuela was through Corinne West. Okay? That's our connection. Through that. Be it whatever. West to Valenzuela. And to see that, people will say, oh, who would you hear that from or whatever. They have bullied us. They have leaked things to us that we knew was illegal, was up to no good. Their responses was up to no good. Why? To a family that wants to know where their son is, where their brother is, so much so that we've had to designate one person to be the face of Find Richard Halliday, which is me on the lives, because of the harassment, of the threats, of their actions that are up to no good, to protect ourselves. And absolutely, from these rogue generals, rogue attorneys, rogue judges, rogue CPS agents, rogue military police, rogue CID, rogue Park University professors, rogue VA disability. They are absolutely working outside, operating outside of the law in a world that has control over so many of our agencies, that they have been getting away with this for a long time. A long time. And they might get away with it this time too. They might. God has to decide. God has to decide when enough is enough. And we have to decide, who are we going to stand by? Are we going to stand by these rogue criminals that turn into demons, absolute demons? I mean, threatening a 7-year-old after you sexually assaulted them with multiple members of the household? These are demons. And we have 85,000. I woke up this morning after dreams that this was all about the child sex trafficking. All about the children. Because where are the children on Maui? Where are the children in Haiti? Where are the children in Ukraine? Where are the children from Fort Bliss, the emergency intake center, that came through, these unvetted, everything's unvetted. And they might get away with this. I don't know how bad things have to get before, well, we know the story of Abraham and Lot. And Abraham saying, for these cities, will you destroy Sodom and Gomorrah if you find 50 righteous people within them? And God's like, no, okay. Because, see, when you love architecture like I do, when you, because it was there at Bassett. It was there in El Paso that I got my love for architecture. I took drafting there at that school at Bassett. I was one of 3 females in this very large class. And it was a tough class to be a female in. I have memories, but I love drafting. And I love architecture. And when you draft things, and this is old drafting, this is not digital, this was with the T rule, this is on the drafting table. This is when you had to give the different views. Your measurements had to be very accurate. It was art. It was art. And I loved it. And when you have seen the architecture, around the world, you know that we have descended. People feed us this information that we have progressed. And but I've been to Greece. I've been all through Europe. And I pay attention to the buildings, right? To the buildings, to the roads, to the layout of, that's why I like star forts so much. Berlin is a star fort. Paris is a star fort. Copenhagen is a star fort. London is a star fort. London is amazing, absolutely amazing. Um, so you have star forts all over the world. The United States is littered with, I shouldn't say littered, has star forts all over. And they get mined. They get mined. They get because, what's there? What were they? What were they really? Um, and you have this architecture. And so you hear the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and you hear Abraham, pleading to God that he knows is a just God, not to destroy those cities because they were amazing. They had technology, they had architecture that my dad was telling me when he was in Jordan. And it's been a year since my dad passed away. So we're going through that grieving right now for my dad. Um, but he was telling me about the incredible architecture in Iraq, in Jordan, in those areas. And, when you say hip hip hooray for bombing, it really is a time to cry. And Abraham knew that. Abraham knew that for this to build these structures, it is it's difficult. Nobody really even knows how the pyramids, the ziggurats, were built. We have ziggurats and pyramids in the ocean. How did that happen? Right? How did that happen? And so, it off the coast of Japan. Look it up. Um, Amazing, and so it's my point is Abraham saying, how long, how many people are you going to destroy that might be the good with the bad? And God's like, for 50 people I will not destroy the city. And these are huge cities, okay? For 50 I will not. So all the rest, let's say a few million, 6 million or whatever, they could be really rotten to the, you know be rogue, and yet God would be patient. And for 20, oh yeah, I will save, I will not destroy the city for 20, and go all the way down to 5, right? For 5 I will not destroy the city. um there was only 4, and even that because we know that Lot was called righteous by God. um but even that, remember, Lot's wife looked back because, you know, um, it's beautiful. It was beautiful and totally criminal. And we see that in the culture of Lot and his daughters. So I don't know how long. I don't know if they're going to get away with this. But I know that Judge Robert Shook is totally up to no good because he should have contacted us. I know the command is up to no good. I know that the CPS is up to no good. I know that Park University is up to no good. I know that Thomas Kane, the DES, 15 years. Um, Taxpayers' money and no loyalty to who he served. No loyalty. Not to even respond to our intentionally, intentionally not to respond to our contact with him. Intentionally. Okay. Why? That's the good question. So now we know that in Customs Border Protectors, um, Christopher Meisner um, is involved in our son's case. Is knows knows personally Leilani Hart and James Hart, and has a connection with Felix Valenzuela in regards to our son's case. Now you know why there was so much effort to use burner phones to try to intimidate us, to try to pull an asymmetric warfare psyop on us, and that we learned how to trace them, and they traced back to government. And I want to call Santa Clara government, because whoever is controlling the narratives in Facebook and Twitter and all of the communications that has this big, is controlling the narrative in the government, is controlling the puppets that are in the government. And finding a missing soldier should be a very positive psyop, right? Let's find this soldier. We'll put him in the media. Everybody will be a hero. The CPS will be a hero. The CID will be a hero. The governor will be a hero. The senators will be a hero. The all law enforcement would be a hero. FBI, the AG, but that is not what happened. That is not what happened. Quite the opposite, and quite the opposite when it comes to 15 plus agencies and more, would be then equivalent in my book, from what I've just been reading, to a code red. They colluded. They conspired together. They worked together to cover up this approved murder, approved, continuous, and severely retaliated against soldier to be murdered. And then to cover up that. Okay? And it might have, started a little collusion, but because we were finding out things, because of like Nadal Baim going into the Dollar General, we know that day is when the FBI took over our son's case. So it grew big, like, oh my gosh, this happened. We didn't, the unexpected, the unseen, in their plans. Their plans changed. And I don't think they expected that we really were serious about wanting to know where our son is. And that we didn't care what they thought about him. We didn't care about their narrative, because Richard is young, was young, And in our faith, um, if God is going to be merciful to us, if God is going to be long suffering with us, if He's going to be patient with us, then we are going to be patient with our children. And He could rally. He could rally if He did anything wrong. And so we didn't care. We were like, we're going to uh, first hear it from Him, let Him defend Himself. And that never happened, right? Because He's not alive. And the longer time went on, it was very clear that he's deceased. We're at 1,112 days, um, and clearly, with the, I guess, the comments that I've given, um, they would love to produce a live Richard to us, but they were always looking for his remains. They were never looking for a live Richard. Okay? And that's why there was no probable cause for the search of our home. There was no probable cause. There was no warrant. They cannot produce a warrant. They didn't have a warrant. There was no probable cause because they couldn't do that legally because Richard is deceased. He was no threat to anybody. And you can't arrest a deceased soldier. And that's why they had to stage the task force find Richard Halliday, because they had to come in civilian clothes, out of uniform, because Richard was deceased and they knew it. There's no task force find Richard Halliday with op wards because there was no live Richard to be found, and maybe his remains, but that's a whole another legal avenue. And we know that because of their legal uh, directions that they were going in, the only way they could do that was to tamper with the files, tamper with his remains, tamper with surveillance footage, gag the people that knew things, gag the people. Gag was Park University gagged because they absolutely had information to tell, and we have $150,000. And where were the soldiers even just attempting to get that kind of money? Because it didn't cost them anything to attempt. But no, there was a gag order, y'all, because um, very, very few. And I don't know exactly the date of the gag order. I'll look that up. But um, just, I think Edwin could shine a lot of light on this. But he has loyalties that he has to honor. Okay? He has loyalties that he has to honor. And yeah, if you look into it a little bit more, you'll understand what I'm saying, and you can read between the lines. So he has to do that. But look into, see if what I'm saying is right. But look into Christopher Meisner of the Customs Border Protectors and Felix Valenzuela. He seems to be doing a lot with the border too, the Customs Border Protectors. He seems to be doing a lot with that too. But they know Lalani. They know Lolani. They know James. And, so they are very good friends to have, very good people in their corner to have. I don't know what part Governor Abbott played in this and these decisions, and what part of the monies were, um, I don't know. You can say, okay, we'll fund you for this slam dunk case and we'll drag it out long, but while you're doing that, work on this other case. I don't know. I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud, trying to reason through how this could all happen, what happened, and the danger this puts us in, because it means that our law enforcement and our justice system and our government system that's supposed to keep us safe and secure is putting us in great, great danger, because they have a lot to lose. They have a lot to lose because they are turning out to be the biggest criminals. And um, I want to mention the Kavia story today. Um, let's see if I can go there, if it lets me go there. Okay, so this is a months long investigation leads to arrest. Now, this is a positive story, I guess. I still have to kind of, uh, I just don't trust anything that the media puts out, and uh, without really looking at it and thinking about it. But this is in El Paso, Texas. Um, you have Mr. Nichols, 44-year-old Jamil Nichols, um, being arrested for allegedly, you have to put that in there, seemingly, allegedly, your opinion, whatever, selling drugs to active duty Fort Bliss soldiers. This was cocaine, fentanyl, and LSD, and we know that from the beginning. We had reports, and I haven't really mentioned this so much because this was part of even Enrique Roman Martinez's case. Um, but this man um, is the son of a known drug trafficker, narcotics trafficker, and so that makes it even more, um, I don't know, intriguing, or uh, what's going on. What are the conflicts of interest here? But the LSD papers that they show, and I posted this up on Find Richard Halliday. Um, we were told that when you moved into the barracks, they would tie you up, drag you through the barracks. We had reports of this, and stuff the LSD down your throat. Um, and or just pour the alcohol down your throat or whatever. And they were having these frat parties every day, and we know that that wasn't good enough for them, so they had to bring in the girls. We were told that by Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz, who now works for the VA. So, uh, wow, wow. This Command Sergeant Major that was so negligent, so criminal, absolutely criminal, y'all, is now over our veterans, taking care of our veterans. Um, they don't vet. They don't vet. And this is not like a personal attack against him, because, we went out to eat, we paid for his dinner, him and his wife. Yeah. Um, got along good with him, but he was nervous, y'all. He was shaking so bad. No, They say, oh, he has some kind of medical whatever. No, it was different because it was in his eyebrows and his eyes and his face and everything, that he was in agony. And I've always appreciated that about him, because at least he didn't have a poker face. Okay? At least he had some agony about what he was doing. Um, and and even apologized with embarrassment when he gave us this letter way after the 2 months later, and he had to give it to me. Couldn't even face Rob. So, um, but he in no way, being part of what he did and bringing in those young girls during COVID lockdown, into the barracks where he knew that they were flush with weapons. He knew they were marketplaces for illegal drugs. He knew the LSD was there, the fentanyl was there, the cocaine was there. He knew it. You see? He knew that there was rapes going on. He knew the Asia Graham situation. He knew that. He knew Richard's situation. He knew these soldiers were getting dragged through and stuffed with LSD. He knew the rapes were going on. He knew it. 14-year-old girls living in the barracks being pimped out. And he brought those young girls into that environment, thinking it was cool, thinking it was the right thing to do. In no way should that man be in his position right now. In no way. Go drive a tractor. Go drive a tractor. Or, I'm being very nice there. I'm being very nice. In no way. So, and being, it seemed to Team Fine Richard Halliday that he was being directed by Jay Paulin. Why would this retired first sergeant have power over an active duty command sergeant major? Why? That seemed very odd, and we did not act upon the directions we were given. And I have those screenshots that I just thought were absolutely, I'm like, what in the world is going on? And now we know, right? We know they're up to no good. And how long, oh Lord, does this culture have to destroy these men? Because, I'm not making excuses for them, but we're in this culture that is destroying us. It's grooming us. It is making pedophilia normalized. Where is the absolute outrage? The absolute outrage to 85,000 unaccounted for minors out of Fort Bliss. Where is the outrage in the way our schools are ran right now? Where is the outrage for the way those barracks? Who in the world thought it was a smart thing? I think it's demonic to make those barracks co-ed. The risk, the absolute danger that our female soldiers are put in, to be put in a co-ed barracks. These are demons that are up to no good. They're not good generals. They need to get out of our uniforms. They are possessing our uniforms, our stars, using our money. And at this point, we cannot wonder or be surprised when we have our soldiers dropping dead from within, having seizures in the barracks, being raped in the barracks, being kidnapped to be pimped out in the barracks. Um, they are working and operating outside of the law. And when I see that the lawyers and the judges are working overtime with millions of dollars with staffs to cover this up so it can continue, they are perpetrators. They are the fuel in the machines of these criminal syndicates. These lawyers and these judges and these 4-star generals. And they might get away with it. They might, but not forever. Not forever. The time will come when God says, no more. No more. And, so I don't know. Faith is in things that cannot be seen, cannot be known. And when I look back at 3 years ago, and wow, the window getting clearer and clearer into what happened to Richard, I'm like, okay, God, I am standing beside you because I don't want anything to do with these predator, pedophilia, uh, you know, if that, and that's so bad. But do you understand? They are also going after our volunteer sons and daughters to destroy them in the military, to take advantage of them, to commit fraud. I mean, the crime just never ends. It just is one crime, from forgery to illegal access to files to psyops on their mental health, psyops and military operations against their physical health. That was absolutely COVID. They're trying to do it again. They're trying to tell people that it is healthy not to breathe, okay? To cover their mouth. Oh, live in a bubble or whatever, right? Not to go out into the sunshine, right? Not to live life, but live in fear. That's how people get sick, living in fear. And so, no, I'm not going to side with them at all. I'm siding with God. Um, every day, every day. To live is um, to side with God every day. And I'm not claiming I'm perfect. I'm just trying to hit that mark. Hit that mark. Um, none of us is good. So I'm not saying I'm good. I'm just saying I know that I cannot side with these criminals, with these demonic criminals, and these sex cult, doggy cult. Um, they're just that causes so much violence and destroys families and destroys nations because it's destroying our army. And so, That's why yesterday I was saying we need to turn off the spigot of our military. Boom. Spigot off of DC. I mean, DC put this thing in office that gave that disgusting speech in Maui. People were horribly killed. Um, yeah. So I hope that you stand with God too. You stand for goodness and righteousness and loyalty and integrity and the rule of law, and that you ask questions and you stand boldly. And anytime you stand boldly, there's a risk. And we see that Richard paid the ultimate price. So that's a disclaimer too. If you stand boldly for goodness, for the Good Samaritan, for the Medal of Honor ethos, um, you will be targeted. I'm just telling you because we've been so targeted. And the media will not come and rescue. We have to be the media. See, that's why they want to mask us. We need to be the media. We need to talk about this. And we need to make people aware and also glean from other people that have experiences so that we can work in reality and not in some fake narrative. Oh, thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Danielle. Do they redact it because of your petitions? Redact. I don't know. I don't know exactly where I should have been watching this while I was talking. Isn't there a letter given to a soldier or their family that comes with the promotions? Um, oh yeah, Richard's file you're talking about that it wasn't redacted. It was sanitized. There's no mention of it at all. Because of it, and they should let us know. They should communicate with us, right? Officially. See, they wanted to do everything through phone calls and not give us and not be able to record it or everything had to be hush hush. And no, we said we want official documents, something we can trust because you have breached our trust with your insanity. And this is during COVID when the military was living in this false narrative, and, like scaring the hell out of our military unnecessarily. 99.6, even more, 99.999 chance um, of survival, and they're scaring them while they are letting fentanyl into the barracks, while they're letting um, cocaine into the barracks, while they're letting the LSD in the barracks, while they're letting the females get raped in the barracks. They're scaring them with this false narrative to lock heels together to politically, I don't know, financially, whatever, um, put forth this, to destroy our trust in our healthcare system too, or just expose it, however you want to think about it. Um, Good evening, Dan. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much, Dulce. Thank you so much. Okay, so contact the Federal Trade Commission officer regarding the fraudulent use of Richard's Social Security card, and we'll see if there are credit cards and can provide addresses that it is used at. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna snapshot that. Um, they will have to answer to God. Absolutely. 45,000 acres of our redwoods are currently burning in the Six Rivers National Forest. They're just yeah. Prayers. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, the Gomar is there. The I have to ask my husband if they got rid of the permanent part because that wouldn't make sense at all to me. And there's nothing really there because there's no there with that, and it's totally elite. It was totally, I would say, criminal, the Gomar, and I said that at the very beginning. Nothing was on the up and up. Nothing was done right, and you can see if you really want to compare things, go on Facebook if it's still there. It should be still there. David Park, he was the captain. His letter to me, not to Rob and I, just to me, and um, I think that implicates him totally. Uh, but read that and know what you know today, and you'll be like, "What? What?" Um, exactly, because they had nothing on Richard, and yet they were retaliating against him severely, continuously. I mean, really. Um, yeah. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for coming on. And if we can, if that drug dealer was apprehended just by one, one hair of what we have accomplished on Find Richard Halliday, these live streams, to keep our service members maybe a little bit safer, a little bit more, let's put a spotlight on what they've been doing to our soldiers, what they've been doing to our military. If we can, just contribute a little bit of good, maybe we've saved a life somewhere, kept other parents from having to go through this. I don't know what God's intention in all of this is, but I know that we're doing the right thing. I know we're shining a light on evil. It's like, you know, roaches don't like the light, right? So we're shining the light on this, and maybe uh, fewer children will be trafficked. Um, God's children are not for sale. And then, this whole shipping, because, that's involved in this, y'all. I only give you a little bit of the story. This is the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to this. And I wanted to put these names out there because I feel like they need to contact us. They need to say to us, well, we were giving counsel to Leilani Hart and to James Hart, and we were manipulating your son's case, or they weren't manipulating. Let me hear that from them. I have to put this out there because our lives are being threatened, and they think they can just, being quiet puts us in more danger, puts other people in more danger, because then nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes. But I'm telling you, we need to turn off the spigot because they're appropriating our wealth to, let's say, degress us into, or making us slaves to a criminal syndicate cabal. Instead of progressing us truly. not what these progressives say, but truly, back into knowing how to build these star forts and these amazing buildings, frequencies, free energy, things like this that we know. Um, and that is a whole nother part of me, um, that I could talk about. But we need to get back to learning how to build a future for beauty and glory, says the Lord, for beauty and glory. So, thank you, everyone. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And let's find